Procrastination, the act of putting off things that are important for your business and for your personal life. Last week's video, we looked at procrastination as a force for good, why procrastination can actually be good for you and your business. In this week's I Hate Numbers video, I'm going to take a slightly different take and talk about why procrastination is not normally a good thing, some tips to share as to how to beat that, and put that in the context of something that's really quite critical for millions of people in the United Kingdom, and that's the preparation, submission of the wonderful tax return. Hi folks, welcome to another weekly episode on I Hate Numbers. This is the channel that's got a simple mission. It's to help you in your business make more money. Who doesn't want that? Improve your financial literacy and understanding and awareness, reduce the stress and anxiety that you have in running your business, save tax, and have the business that you aspire to. I've done that for thousands of businesses over the years, and I'd like that for you as well. Shall we crack on with the video? The procrastination, that art of putting things off, which all of us, myself included, have been guilty of. More important though, when it comes up to things like sending out that email to that important customer, following up with calls, sitting down and thinking about the future, doing your planning, and more importantly, that personal tax return, it takes another shape, it takes another dimension. Now, there are a number of reasons why we as human beings procrastinate. It could be a lack of motivation. We just don't have that energy, that get up and go. We don't have that sense of prioritizing the task. We don't feel it's that important. We may get overwhelmed. The task in front of us is far too big. And therefore, what we do, we think of everything else we can do to distract ourselves from completing that task. Who hasn't experienced that themselves? I certainly have. And I'll be extremely surprised if you out there haven't experienced that in any shape or form. It could be that our time management is very wonky, very poor, always room for improvement, and we may not actually see that as a sense of priority. When we relate that to personal tax returns, and more particularly, a tax return that's got to be submitted for the income tax 22-23. Now, the filing date, the actual last date to get that in and pay that tax that's due, is the 31st of January 2024. Now, certainly taking my own example of our client base, a significant proportion of those got in, but there is always going to be a cohort of those people who leave it to the last minute. Based on recent statistics, 12 million people file a personal tax return in the United Kingdom, and a significant number, and we're talking hundreds of thousands, creeping into the millions, are either late or file it literally with a couple of weeks to go. And that can be very stress-inducing and anxious. Now, if you're doing your tax return as a DIY, which is perfectly fine, perfectly understandable and acceptable, if your affairs are relatively straightforward, then watch out in the show notes here, and I'm going to be hosting a free webinar where I'm going to guide you through what you need to do to get that tax return completed, avoid those mistakes, and minimize your tax burden. But more of that in future video. Let's get back to this procrastination. So we understand some reasons why it happens. What can we do to actually try and minimize that? Well, one thing is to actually make sure you've got a clarity on the objective and why you're actually doing something. Once you've got focus in your mind, your why, the reasons for doing that, then it becomes much easier to become motivated. Now, for example, getting that tax return completed, getting it out of the way, means that you've got time to consider and reflect on how much tax you've got to find. If you haven't saved enough for it, you haven't put enough money to one side, you've got options as to how you can negotiate and pay HMRC what is due. Number two, you may find as you're going through the process here, there are things that you've neglected, things that you might have done incorrectly in the previous year, and that gives you time to rectify and file amendments. Thirdly, it gives you time to organise yourself, get all that information together that you need. The actual process of filling in the boxes themselves may not seem overwhelming and quite straightforward to some, but actually it's gathering the data that you need to actually go in there as well. What can you actually do though to actually try and become more productive and procrastinate less? So fix the reasons why it's important in your own mind. Don't look at it just as purely as a compliance exercise. Re-evaluation, going through what's happened historically, helps you plan for the future as well. Other things you can do is minimize the distractions. So if you get email notifications, you've got a tendency to check those emails regularly, stop, take a step back and limit yourself to how many times you check your email. an hour or two delay is not going to be the end of the world for most people. Turn off notifications off your phone and have some quiet period. Now, there's a phrase called eat the frog. And the whole idea was nobody actually looks forward to eating a live frog, so get it out of the way. So think about when your most productive time is, when you get less distractions. It might be first thing in the morning, it might be the afternoon, it might be the evening time. Also, do things in bite-sized pieces. Don't try and do everything in one go. Break it down into several tasks. So it could be collation of the information. It could be making sure that you've got your tax references, all the information to hand, all your P60s assembled, and therefore the task of completing that tax return, know what allowances you might be able to claim, becomes much easier. You can do other things as well. You can do something called the Pomodoro technique, which is doing things in short bursts, rest and recuperate. And the main thing that I find really positive to become less of a procrastinator is to reward yourself. So when you've completed a task that you might consider not to be the most pleasant one, but you know it's necessary for your business and yourself, then give yourself a reward. It could be a slice of cake if that's your thing. It could be going for a walk, an exercise, checking and doing that social scrolling on social media. Whatever it is, give yourself a reward for the task that you've undertaken. So folks, I hope there's been some useful tips in there. Are you a procrastinator? Are you somebody who's, for example, putting on your tax return until the last moment? It's perfectly understandable. You're in good company, but it's not to be recommended. Now remember, check out those show notes. Watch out for that link for that webinar. And I'm going to be taking you through what goes in the return, how to minimize the mistakes, how to minimize your tax burden, and it will be questions and answers as well for your delight. Until next time, folks, stop procrastinating.